In getting to do this video blog, it's a great joy in my life. And I get to interact with people on Twitter and affairrecovery.com and all over the place. It's a lot of fun. And it's a joy to serve and to help others walk through one of the biggest crises of their entire life. And I get it. And I've had a few questions lately that center around this one component that I want to talk about today, and it's basically the unfaithful spouse saying, well, you know, Samuel, I appreciate it. There's lots of great stuff. Really enjoy your video blog. It's great, but isn't my opinion as an unfaithful spouse valid? Like, am I just seeing things, or is there any validity to the fact that I was seeing weaknesses and vulnerabilities and deficiencies in my marriage? I mean, am I just an idiot and supposed to just lay down and die? Or, I mean, I'm an educated man or woman, I'm pretty intelligent, I have a pretty firm grasp on reality, and I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that our marriage was a train wreck or had deficiencies or there was significant vulnerabilities. I mean, am I not allowed to have that opinion? Now, as you can imagine, this is a landmine to step into. But here's what I would say, and I know that you betrayed spouses are kind of going, okay, what do you got to say here, Samuel? Here's the truth. I was very in tune with vulnerabilities and deficiencies in my marriage, absolutely. And I completely handled it the worst way that you could handle it. So just because I had the ability to say, yeah, there was some deficiencies and some struggles, in no way did I handle it the right way. I sought out in a way to meet legitimate needs in a very illegitimate way. And because I did that, I completely eradicated any form of dignity, any form of respect in terms of addressing those marital issues because I cheated. And so to answer that question, if you're an unfaithful spouse, I'm quite confident that you probably were able to see with some truth to some vulnerabilities or some deficiencies or weaknesses in your marriage and in your spouse. However, you'll never be able to use those in a way to justify your affair. I'm sorry, you just can't. I tried. I tried for a long time. And I hit rock bottom and crashed and burned in a way that I hope that you don't have to, but yet if that's the way that your life has changed, then so be it. But yes, there's validity to what you may have been observing about your marriage and your spouse. However, if you've had an affair, you are in a very difficult spot because your spouse can't hear you. Your spouse won't hear you. When you talk and maybe bitch or complain or throw out these, flares of, well, you weren't having enough sex, or you always, were critical of me or condescending, and I was a hero everywhere else but home. And when you throw out those things, they can't hear them. Or what happens is they actually become grenades that you throw at your spouse, and they blow up in front of your world and in their world because you are appearing to justify and minimize and defend your actions. You simply don't have a leg to stand on because your spouse is too traumatized by your affair. They simply cannot and will not hear you with any form of objective truth. Looking back, I had some very valid frustrations about my marriage. And Samantha absolutely owned those things when I had done a few things that created the opportunity for her to own her struggles. Again, her struggles do not make it appropriate that I cheated. Not at all. And if you can get to the right people, and if you can get the right protocol in place, and if you can trust the process, I'm confident that you, as an unfaithful spouse, will begin to see change in the areas that you're looking to see change. I absolutely believe it. I think there's thousands of unfaithful spouses who are far enough in their recovery that they would be able to absolutely say, yes, as I did a few of these things, we were able one day to address those things. So before you freak out, though, let me give you, the unfaithful spouse, just a few things to do if you want to address the frustration and the vulnerabilities or the deficiencies that you feel were going on in your marriage. Number one, you've got to get safe. As long as you're defensive, as long as you're blaming, as long as you're throwing these grenades of, well, you this, and what I talked about a few weeks ago, which is if you subscribe to the you first mentality, like, well, you need to do this, or you're going to blow it. You've got to get safe. That means that you stop fixating on your spouse or your partner and you focus on you. That means that if you come from faith, you lay your perceptions of deficiencies, inadequacies, or all those things at the foot of the cross. If you don't come from faith, it means you say, look, we'll address those later, but I'm going to be about me, and I'm going to be about the change I want to see in me, because if there's a change in me, there's probably going to be a change in my marriage. Number two is get healthy. There's a difference. Now, when you're safe, you're focusing on you, you're allowing the light to be shined on you, you're allowing yourself to sit in the office, like I talked about in another vlog, and simply let the light be shined upon you. Your struggles, your acting out, your character flaws, the things that need to be addressed. But as you're getting healthy, you're owning it. You're doing work behind the scenes. You are saying, you know what? I can't control what he or she does. I can only control what I do. It's the principle out of the gospel where Jesus says, why do you worry about the speck that's in your spouse or your partner's eye and not worry about the log that is in your own eye? So getting healthy is about focusing on the log that is in your own eye, because if you come from faith, there's a confidence to know that one day Jesus is going to deal with what's going on in your spouse and help them heal and help them get healthy and maybe own the vulnerabilities and deficiencies. If you don't come from faith, there's a principle that says, look, as I work on me, I'm going to see things far more clearly. I'm going to be able to see where my struggles were, and what my spouse or my partner does is really between them and themselves, but all I can do is change me. I can't make them change, but I can change me, because I don't know how long I'm going to be married or in a relationship with this person, and I've got to get healthy and I've got to work on me. So as I'm getting healthy, I'm trying to deal with whatever toxicity is inside of me. Because as I get healthy, I'm wooing my spouse back. I'm showing my spouse that I'm safe. I'm showing my spouse that I mean business, and that even if they're unhappy, raging, we're not having sex anymore, and we're barely, having any kind of physical contact, but yet I stand strong and work on me and do recovery work and focus on me. I'm showing them that I'm safer and safer and safer, and then eventually there'll be this moment or there'll be this opportunity where your spouse will say, I think, and Samantha said this, that I have some things to own too. And there was that moment in Rick Reynolds' office where Samantha said that, and I was like, and I blew this, I don't do this, but there was a moment and I went, Rick, shut up. I said, what? And she kind of laughed, kind of turned red, kind of out of anger, kind of out of, humility, but she had this moment where she was like, yeah, I have to own some things too. And I was like, really? And she said, yeah, I felt that way for a long time, but I wasn't going to talk about that until I knew that you were safe enough to not act like a complete idiot like you're kind of doing right now. And I was like, okay, I just was really kind of caught off guard that you think that there are some things that you need to address. And then Rick was just looking at me like, bro, you are ruining it right now. That was a turning point, and that was monumental. And please don't judge the vulnerability of the moment. I don't at any level sit here and say, well, if these betrayed spouses would make some changes, their spouses wouldn't be cheating. Absolute just trash. Not true. Another thing that I would suggest is, and actually I would kind of mandate to you, unfaithful spouse, don't allow yourself to become frustrated control freaks because you don't see the change that you want to see. It's so easy for you to kind of get angry and frustrated because you're like, Samuel, I've been doing this and I'm working hard, but he or she is not owning anything. They're not talking about anything. It's probably not been enough time. People say that to me, it's been 3 or 4 months. I'm like, ooh, yeah, no, you're nowhere near yet, bro. It's probably going to take easily, offhand, 9 to 12 months of allowing the light to shine on you before your spouse maybe goes, it could be shorter. It depends upon the severity of what's going on, because every situation is different, and you'll hear that from us all the time. But the reality is that as you are helping your spouse heal, as you are getting safe and getting healthy, and you're fighting depression and resisting turmoil and resisting self-hatred, and you're not letting yourself get into the spiral of depression, because as long as you get into depression and shame, you're making it about you, when one of the best things that you can do is do work on you, but make it about helping your spouse feel safe. Because as they feel safe, they start to think that you're getting it. And as they feel like you're getting it, they're going to be more open to maybe talking about vulnerabilities or deficiencies in their own heart, so that you can repair your relationship, so that you can never be at this place again, and so that you can move forward in healing and have the marriage that you both so desperately want.